Hello, everybody. I'm sure that you've heard of some of the news coming out of Cuba in the last week, and there's a lot of news, and there's a lot of details, and there's a lot of nuance. But in this video, I really wanted to emphasize how insanely stupid the response has been to the issue. How all these responses that I've seen lack any semblance of nuance and usually devolve into team sports. And I would hope that this video doesn't devolve into team sports. I am a lefty, but I've seen a lot of bad self-proclaimed leftist takes, okay? Just like I've seen a lot of bad right-wing takes. So even if you're a self-described right-winger, I would suggest you stop being one. But even if you are, I would hope that you can enjoy this video and see stupid where stupid is, and come join me in laughing at dumb people. And with that out of the way, we're gonna immediately jump into some very bad right-wing takes because, oh my god, these people know nothing about the Cuban situation, and frankly, they don't know a thing about politics. So we're just gonna go right into them before we get into the people that I feel are a little bit more manipulative. Now listen, folks, we're dealing with some very intelligent people, okay? Big brains. Brains so big like their heads are huge because of how big their brains are. Like Garrett here, who says, "Hey guys, if your communist country needs to trade with the capitalist US in order to survive, maybe your commie country isn't that good." That's clearly a take from a guy that's been studying and researching this issue, maybe a political scientist, maybe like a journalist that's been watching the Cuban situation for the last 60 years. It's such a big brain take that, I'm in shock. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. And I really tip my hat to this guy because he knows exactly what he's talking about. So in my clearly not sarcastic comment, I'm pretty sure that this genius knows what the embargo against Cuba actually means. So in case you don't know because you don't have the same intellect as that last guy, the United States embargo against Cuba prevents American business and businesses with commercial activities in the United States, keyword in the United States, from conducting trade with Cuban interest. So at face value, this might not seem like the most radical thing. Country A does not like country B. Country B doesn't like country A either. So country A puts restrictions on their own business from doing business within country B. Doesn't sound too crazy, except the problem is when the United States is the sole superpower, when we're the global hegemon, when we're the global economic hub, okay? So when you have a system which prevents American business, but not only American business, but business with commercial activities in the United States from conducting trade with Cuban interests, you get situations like this. Cuba, US embargo blocks coronavirus aid shipment from Asia. So the question is, why is the US embargo coming in between a shipment from Asia, specifically from Chinese billionaire Jack Ma? Based on the logic from the very intelligent comment that we saw earlier, the embargo only affects trade with the US. Well, clearly it doesn't. So one of the problems with this situation was that one of the cargo carriers was a Colombia-based company. Now, it's a Colombia-based company. It's not American. So why is it affected by the embargo? Well, a major shareholder of that company is US-based. So it's subject to the trade embargo. And while the trade embargo has an exception for food and medicine, many companies are often afraid to carry out because of risk of fines or prosecution. Essentially what I'm trying to say here is that the original creator is very dumb. He doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Cuba. He doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to politics. He doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to embargoes. He just doesn't know. The idea that you think embargoes are just two countries of equal footing just choosing to ignore each other because they don't like each other is extremely, extremely silly. So when I said manipulative earlier, I was referring to those with some political knowledge, like so-called political commentators, that are making absolute insane takes just like this one. I'm embarrassed to say that I used to be mutuals with this guy. I used to be friendly. I used to interact with this dude. And this is absolutely disgusting. Literally advocating for fucking war? Does he think that war is just this game where we just go into a country and we're greeted as liberators and we're freedom people? And we just free people? We're superheroes? He's unbelievably mistaken. Unbelievably War is death. War is suffering. I remember this guy was crying in friends only videos on his TikTok account because his girlfriend dumped him. And I understand. That sucks. That's really unfortunate. And you have the right to be sad. But your sadness is fucking nothing compared to those who lost loved ones in a bombing, or those whose loved ones got shot. Those who woke up one day expecting a normal day, but then they get the people they care about the most dead. So at least with your girlfriend, right? You could say goodbye. You could explain yourself. You could say, you could beg to get back together or whatever. With them, they had no chance. It's over. That's what you're advocating for. I want you to understand that. You people fucking gross me out. It's disgusting. Well, it's without a doubt these broadly right-wing people having the worst takes on Cuba. I would be dishonest if I said there aren't self-proclaimed leftists with some horrible, horrible takes. For example, Eddie Liger Smith, TikTok's most famous tanky, I'd say, and a passionate defender of women.
The personal stuff, we don't really know Jimmy Dore. I feel like that's between him and his female friends and female coworkers to work out on a personal level. But looking at it as from a collective level and from a working class standpoint in the movement for socialism.
You heard it here now, folks. When it comes to the big question, socialism versus women, obviously, socialism comes first. But in all seriousness, I'm criticizing Eddie's position on Cuba, and specifically his Instagram post where he gave a very long statement, somewhat pointed of a statement, and I have a specific problem with it. He wrote that the Cuban president Diaz-Canel just urged Cubans loyal to the revolution to hit the streets and defend the revolution. Shortly after, the traitor groups, interesting choice of words there, I want to focus on that, began to be overshadowed by the Cuban revolutionaries. Blah, 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 blah. Let's focus on that statement, the traitor groups. So let's be clear on what these so-called traitor groups are doing. They're advocating against austerity, which frankly any leftist should be against austerity. They're advocating for better COVID relief, which is very reasonable during the middle of a pandemic. I understand there's a bunch of reasons why the relief might not be the best, including the US embargo, which I want to see removed. But to say that people advocating for better conditions are traitors to the revolution and bad people or whatever, that's unbelievably cringe. It's true, some of these protesters are advocating for greater freedoms, but as a leftist, you should absolutely be for that. The many great things about leftist policies, including something like Medicare for All, is it frees people more. Not being dependent on employer-based insurance, not being held to a specific network, choosing what doctor or hospital you get to go to, that's increasing freedom, and that's one of the great reasons to be for Medicare for All. And ultimately, Eddie, when it comes to the freedoms, you are an online creator on TikTok, on YouTube, etc., 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 on your own website. You are benefiting from free speech. I'm sure you wouldn't like it if the US government shut down your internet, which is something the Cuban government did in response to dissent. And finally, in regards to Eddie's points, to frame the government response as just the president called for true revolutionaries to come out on the streets and support the government, and that's all, is unbelievably silly. They responded like any other government does. They brought out the riot police and the police acted brutally. They beat people across the head, etc., etc., etc. ACAB, right? Until it's the Cuban police, then you know what? They deserve that swing across the head. Obviously, I'm not serious because that would be unbelievably inconsistent if either of those were my positions. But when it comes to Eddie, when it comes to these tanky types in general, I mean, the police are evil unless they got a red star on their badge. Then they're good guys. Ultimately, I think the entire discourse can be summarized by this picture right here, where this guy writes, Cuban citizens after the US Congress votes to bust its democracy seed all over the island once again, all because there was a protest about something. This is so perfect. It encompasses the ignorance that's so prevalent on the right wing and the so-called left wing on this issue. The fact that he said protest about something is literally because he most likely doesn't know what the protest is about, and if he did know, the topic of the protest seems pretty legitimate. Now secondly, I don't believe that we're going to go to war over this. If anything, the embargo is going to continue, unfortunately, and that's a real shame. Really, all we can do as individuals is just call out the nonsense when we see it, and advocate for good things and advocate against bad things, okay? So advocate for greater civil rights for Cubans. advocate for better COVID relief and also advocate against the embargo. Because we need to get rid of it. We need to get rid of it. Let's have one of our neighbors succeed. I don't think that's a radical or left-wing position to take. I think that's just a reasonable and human position to take. But yeah, I mean, if you enjoyed seeing these people get called out, then please feel free to hit that subscribe button and like this video. I want to post more. I plan to post more. And I feel like I really found a style which works for me. So if you could stick around and keep seeing that kind of style pop up, like this video, this commentary video, I would greatly appreciate it. And I do plan to talk on things besides just politics, just so you know. So yeah, I mean, that's all I got for now, folks. Please stick around and enjoy my other videos and upcoming videos, and I'll see you guys later.